everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, and today we are going to be talking about my journey as a Muslim. So this is going to be my 1-year update. I have been Muslim for more than a year, but not quite 2 years yet, so I feel like doing a 1-year update is totally cool. I just want to chat about my experiences and things maybe I wish I had done differently, things that I hope will happen in the future, all that kind of stuff. And I might actually talk a little bit about how I became Muslim. I have a whole video on how I became Muslim, so I will either put that in the description or put a card up so you can check that video out. It's an old video. I will probably make a new one soon, but for now, that's where you can check it out. So the cliff notes of the cliff notes of maybe even the cliff notes of how I became a Muslim was that I was introduced to it by my husband, and I fell in love with it. He introduced it simply by being Muslim. He never forced it on me, in case you were wondering. He never even suggested that I revert. I just loved it, loved how he talked about it, loved what he said about it. I did my own research. I said my shahada. Actually, I started wearing hijab before I said my shahada. And yeah, that's how I became Muslim. That's just the very short and sweet version of it. I love being Muslim. I love Islam. I love everything about Islam. Yes, there are struggles, and I will get into struggles. I still love it. I love everything. And there's never been a point where I've thought about not being Muslim or where I've regretted my choice or anything like that. This is my cat. Her name is Victoria. Hello, everybody. She's trying to jump on to the area where it's not really a tripod, but the thing that's holding my recording device up, and I don't want her to mess up the recording. Anyway, what was I saying even? So anyway, there's never been a point where I've regretted becoming Muslim. Even during the times where there are things that I struggle with, I never think to myself, wow, I really wish that this wasn't my life, because I'm so glad that I found Islam. So I want to say that for new reverts, what I have discovered is that you need a solid foundation. I'm still in the process of building my solid foundation, because I feel like while I'm on the right track, I haven't quite finished the building of the foundation. We've got the structure, but the cement hasn't been lit. Actually, I don't even know how you build a foundation of a house. You know what? The foundation is getting close to being there, but not quite there yet. Still working on it. Let's forget that I ever mentioned the house foundation, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the solid foundation starts with knowing the 5 pillars of Islam, and I will just run through them real quick. I'm not going to get into the explanations of it. I'm just going to tell you what they are in no particular order. We have prayer, or salah, fasting, the shahada, or declaration of faith, zakat, or donations to the poor, and of money, specifically of money to the poor. And then last but certainly not least, we have Hajj, or the pilgrimage to Mecca. So those are the 5 pillars, and you have to really understand them and learn about them and learn the whys of how they became the 5 pillars and why, again, going back to the whys, why they are the 5 pillars. So once you kind of understand the 5 pillars and understand what Islam is, you need to start building upon that by, first of all, praying. You need to do your 5 daily prayers. This isn't optional. The 5 daily prayers are extremely important, but as a revert, it is so hard. At least for me, prayers did not come easily to me. If you've seen my prayer video, I've talked about the struggles and difficulties I've had with it, but it's just hard for me. But when I pray, everything falls into place. I feel so much better. Just life is so much fuller and better for me. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that prayer is one of the 5 pillars. There's a reason why it makes you feel better, because you're connected with Allah. So you really need to start doing that. And I know a lot of people believe that when you pray, you are either praying 5 prayers a day or you're praying none. And I don't really think that that's the best way to go about it, because if you are just learning to do it, I think it's important to meet yourself where you are. Maybe start with the morning prayer, Fajr, and do Isha, the nighttime prayer. Start with those 2 prayers and build your way up, because if you have a traditional 9 to 5, those ones will be easier and more convenient to your schedule. If you don't, find the ones that work with your schedule, and then after that, you can start scheduling your life and your day around prayer instead of the other way around. Another important foundational thing is to start reading Quran. Now, if you don't know Arabic, you're not going to be able to read the actual Quran. You're going to have to read a translation of it, which a lot of people call interpretations, because when you translate into another language, meanings get lost. Phrases get lost, because sometimes there's a way of saying something that cannot be translated into another language. It just doesn't work. You can see that with French. And I'm going to use this example because I learned French, and my teacher, who was from France, explained why in English this kind of doesn't make as much sense and loses meaning when you translate it to English. So there's this song, it's called Le Belle et le Bad Boy, and there's a line in it, sorry, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, that goes, De belle de vingt de son adieu, which when he says adieu, he's saying adieu, but he's making it work with the song. I will put the lyrics up back there so you can see what they are. But anyway, what it means is 222 bullets, 22 years goodbye. However, adieu specifically means until God, which it's usually used as a final goodbye or a goodbye when you are not going to see someone for a really long time. So what this was is the girl in the song had got shot, and 22 years goodbye, well, 22 years goodbye in the sense that you will never see her again. So the French know that, but when you translate it into English, you have to do this whole explanation of the true meaning behind it. And so when you think about the Quran, there is going to be meaning lost when you translate it to another language, because there are things that cannot be translated or cannot be translated correctly when you make it into another language. So that's why a lot of times it's called an interpretation. That was very long-winded, but there you have it. So those are two things that I'm really working on, because I find myself doing other things other than reading or listening to Quran, and I do make up excuses about why I don't need to pray, and it's just a thing, and I need to get better at it. So I have gotten a lot better with prayer, so that is good. But I need to start getting better at reading Quran. And so going from that, I think I want to talk about how some things are easier to, I guess, accept than others. It really depends on your particular walk of life and your particular tests that you've been given. But I'll tell you a few things that were hard for me to really digest and not be okay with, but things that were hard for me. The first thing I'm going to talk about is modesty. Now, hijab came very easy to me. I wanted to wear it. But when I specifically say hijab, I mean the scarf. And wearing the scarf came very easily to me. But not being able to just wear t-shirts and skinny jeans, specifically very tight jeans, was difficult for me, because that was my whole wardrobe. And even 3/4 length sleeves, I was like, oh man, I'm going to need to change my wardrobe. For some people, you want to ease into it. Go from spaghetti straps to short sleeves, then to 3/4 sleeves, and then to full length. That's okay, in my opinion. Some people think that you go from 0 to 100. You either are the perfect hijabi or you're not a hijabi at all. That's not my thoughts on it. But I wanted to be the perfect hijabi, or at least as close to the perfect hijabi as I could be. So I started wearing looser fitting clothes. I started buying pants instead of jeans. I started wearing long sleeves. I didn't wear low-cut shirts anymore. I wore the turban to start out with, and then I worked my way to the full hijab. It didn't take very long for me to work my way to that, but I did, and I'm very happy that I wear hijab like this. Again, prayer was difficult for me, so I'm not going to get into that anymore because I keep getting into that, but prayer was difficult for me. Still is. Surprisingly enough, not changing my name to my husband's last name was a struggle for me, because in American culture, you change your last name. But Islamically, women keep their family name. They don't change it. So I had been so excited to change my name to seem like, yes, I'm married, big changes. But the more I learned and the more I discussed it with my husband, we came to the conclusion that I should probably not change my last name. Now, there was no forcing. The only forcing that happened was with my bank. I told them I got married and they changed my name. They learned what my husband's last name was and they changed my name. And I was like, what? I didn't ask you to do that. Why did you do that? So anyway, that was a surprising struggle for me. I think it was a struggle for me because I had grown up with the idea that I was going to change my name, and having that like, oh, actually I'm not going to do that was interesting to me. I don't mind it at all. I love my last name. It may be long, it may be complicated, but I love it. I would say, however, the biggest struggle that I have, that I think I will always have, is music. Now, there's a lot of argument about whether or not you're allowed to listen to music in Islam, and I'm still not sure where I stand on this. I need to do more research into the topic and really figure out the whys behind music, and if music is really not okay. And I need to read the Quran more deeply and read the verses and look into hadith and all this stuff around music, because I love music. I love listening to music. Now, do I see the wisdom in not listening to music with lyrics that have swear words or that are inappropriate? Yeah, I do see the wisdom in that. But then I think about music that is harmless, and I question why that music is not okay. Like, for instance, I get why I most likely should not be listening to Brass Monkey by the Beastie Boys, because it's all about glorifying alcohol. So I get why I can't listen to that. I understand. But when you go with Paul Simon's Father and Daughter, about a father who just wants to watch his daughter flourish and grow and how much he loves and cares about her, I question, why is that song not okay for me to listen to? So that's a journey, a personal journey that I'm on. If you want to comment about it, you can, but honestly, that's a journey that I'm on, and I feel like I need to figure out on my own. But yeah, the last thing that I have a huge struggle with are tattoos. And I say that because I love tattoos. I have 2 tattoos that I got before I became Muslim. One of my tattoos is a memorial for my father, who has passed, and the other one is a tattoo I got. It's actually a matching tattoo with my best friend, and I think in some videos you can see it. It's on my arm. I've known her since I was 3. We wanted to do something special to really celebrate our friendship. So there were more tattoos I wanted to get. I wanted to get a tattoo for my mom. I wanted to get my cat's paw prints on me, because I love her so much, and she's helped me through the biggest struggles of my life. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but honestly, when I've wanted to do bad things to myself, I just think of my cat and think about how wonderful she is. And one of the things, I'm actually going to put up a trigger warning right now. So when I was suicidal, I would think about my cat, and I would think, she won't know why I didn't come home. She won't know why I'm not there anymore. And I've had her for about 7 years now, and I've been on and off suicidal, and I always think to myself, she won't know why I'm not there. She'll feel abandoned. She'll feel like I don't love her anymore. So that actually does help me. And she actually can tell when I'm feeling bad, because she does snuggle with me. But when I'm feeling really bad, she will come to me and she will sit on me and purr and stay with me. And then when I'm feeling a little bit better, it's like she can tell, she'll get up. So she's very special to me. So I did want to get those tattoos, and I wanted to get ones that were significant and important to me. But I have to accept that tattoos are not permissible. I need to look into the whys of that, though, because I still am not super sure why that is. I've heard the argument that we are supposed to be as we are and not change ourselves, but then ear piercings are allowed, piercings in general are allowed, and so I'm like, well, but that changes you, right? And stuff like, I don't know, there are things that physically can change you, and so that argument I don't know about. I get it, but I'm still mulling it over. The argument that I do not agree with at all is that it prevents you from doing wudu. The reason I disagree with that is because wouldn't henna also prevent you from doing wudu? I'm still looking into that, trying to understand. I'm not going to be getting any more tattoos, but I want to understand. So those have been my personal biggest struggles. But there is another struggle that I went through, but that wasn't about acceptance. It was about my family. My family has luckily been accepting for the most part. There have been times when they have said things, either offhandedly or directly, that show that they're not entirely okay with it. I'm not going to say these things. If you are a part of my family and you are watching this and you want to know what's being said, I will tell you. But if that's not something I really want to share with the general public, but things have been said, and when those things are said, it does hurt a little bit, but my family is generally very accepting, and there's never been a time where anybody has told me, you can't do that, or I'm going to disown you, or anything like that. That did not happen to me. Another thing that people might ask me about is my experience being out and about with hijab, and honestly, I've only had good experiences connecting with other Muslims, and all sorts of things like that. But I've never had anybody say anything negative to me. I've had people look at me, but honestly, I feel like those looks are out of curiosity and not out of hatred. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, I don't see that very often. And they kind of look at you. But I've never felt hated. Actually, that's not true. There was one time there was a man who, honestly, I think he was looking at me out of curiosity now that I look back on it. But I felt very uncomfortable because essentially I stereotyped him. And when I saw him staring at me, I got scared. I was like, is this man going to say something to me? Is he going to do something? But he didn't. He just stared at me for a really long time, and that actually did make me feel uncomfortable because I don't want to be stared at for a really long time. But he looked at me for a while and then looked away. But yeah, that was the only time I felt uncomfortable. Other than that, nothing but good experiences. There was one embarrassing experience when I first put it on, and somebody came up to me and said salam alaikum, and I was just so shocked that I just stared at him. He was a worker at the grocery store. I just stared at him, and he was like, oh, I'm just wanting to say hi, and I was like, hi. And it was really awkward, but I went up to him later. I actually specifically stayed in the store longer so I could find him and tell him, you know, thank you for saying hello to me. I'm not used to it. Nobody said hello to me yet. And he was really kind about it, and it was great. But yeah, so I haven't had any negative experiences in that way. Okay, so that has been my 1 year recap of being a Muslim, And yeah, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, you can find me right here. Don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps my channel out. And please subscribe if you haven't already to see more content like this. All right, if you've got any questions, comments, snide remarks, put them in the comments below. Have a great day. Bye.